When Epic Games released Paragon back in 2016, it took a lot of people by surprise and put some genuine pressure on Smite as the premier third-person MOBA out there. It was even more surprising, to me at least, that the Paragon servers were officially shut down in 2018 following Epic's announcement that they would no longer be supporting the game. Most likely to put their focus on other ventures, Fortnite, and the Epic Games Store and Unreal Engine 5. After refunding all players who purchased the game, Epic made a bold move to release all assets used for Paragon for free on the Unreal Marketplace. This led to several copycat games that are attempting to recreate the Paragon experience in their own way using those assets and capture the demand that was seen for early Paragon. So my question is, which one of these Paragon spin-offs will stand the test of time and which ones will crash and burn? Because I just don't see several games using the same assets, character names, and general gameplay and story having simultaneous success. Most likely one of these games will emerge as the best and most popular, and that single game will go on to carry the mantle of the Paragon name. The MOBA market is notoriously hard to break into, with giants like League of Legends and Dota dominating the scene, as well as Smite of course being the most direct competitor to Paragon due to its third-person view. As it stands, there are 3 main Paragon successors and one project that is unrelated to Paragon and doesn't use the Epic Games assets, but has a similar style and is also third-person. By the end of this video, you should hopefully have a rough idea of what each remake offers, and if you want to give any of them a go as an alternative to Smite and or to relive the Paragon days. First up, we have the most faithful remake of the original Paragon, and that's Predecessor. So early on in Paragon's development back in 2016, Epic decided to make a major turn in the direction of the game.
The Monolith update is not just a new map, it's actually a new gameplay experience for our players. And what we were attempting to do with this map is our best version of what we think the dream of Paragon is, realized in a new map with a new way forward for our players.
The Monolith update released an entirely new, smaller map and increased movement and animation speeds for most characters, among other small balance changes to make the game feel more fast-paced. Predecessor aims to emulate the original game, before Monolith released. We'll get into Overprime in a little bit that is closer to the post-Monolith version of Paragon.
If you're a prior player and Paragon wasn't everything you hoped it would be, leave all of your expectations at the door and walk into it with fresh eyes.
One of the major changes made in Monolith was the card system overhaul. Cards had always been a divisive way to do items in Paragon, as many loved their depth and complexity, but also many hated it and thought it was far too complex. This compounded with an issue that cards had to be earned or bought to be used in your deck at the start of a match. Earned or bought. Yeah, you can see where this went. Allowing real money to buy cards that give you a real advantage in the game was not received well, and while you could earn in-game currency and buy any cards you needed, it was more of a pay to skip than pay to win necessarily, because there are many other elements of the game that require skill that can't be bought. But it definitely was pay to get an edge at the very least. But I digress. Predecessor aims to be the most faithful remake of the original Paragon that got everyone excited back in 2016. The developers of Predecessor, or Meta Studios, received a grant of over $1 million from Epic Games to fund development, which definitely helped this remake get its feet on the ground. It's possible that this backing, combined with the $2.2 million raised from fans, is why Predecessor looks the most polished and has the smoothest animations of all the clones we've seen so far. After recording and partially editing this video, some news broke that the Predecessor team, or Meta Studios, has raised another $20 million for Predecessor, so that just puts an even larger emphasis on how well funded this studio is to make this game. If you played Paragon back in the day and enjoyed the deep, slower gameplay, Predecessor might be the Paragon remake you're looking for. But moving on to the second major remake on the market, Overprime. The immediate difference you notice here is the graphics, in my opinion. Predecessor has a more smooth and almost sci-fi look to it, whereas Overprime is more grainy and highly saturated with more vibrant colours, but in my opinion less interesting overall map design. Speaking of the map, in Overprime it's huge compared to Predecessor. The jungle area is what strikes me as the most ridiculous in Overprime, and while I do like a larger map, it's something I've been calling for in Smite for years, Overprime might go a little too far with it. It truly feels like walking through a maze when you're crossing between lanes in Overprime. While both these remakes use the same assets and world, they are very different games. Overprime in itself is well made and is worth checking out, but don't expect it to feel exactly like the original Paragon, because it doesn't. At least compared to Predecessor, which much more closely emulates Paragon from back in the day, both in terms of visuals and game mechanics. However, that doesn't mean Overprime is bad, it's just different. If Paragon didn't quite hit the spot for you but you kinda liked it, maybe Overprime will change enough things for you that it'll be fun. But if you liked the original feel and style of Paragon, Predecessor is probably the way to go. But moving on to our final direct remake of Paragon, that being Fault. Being the only game that is currently available to play, Fault has definitely delivered on speed, but the game in my opinion lacks on quality. The game itself takes the Overprime approach in terms of using Paragon as a baseline but truly putting their own spin on it. The game is available in early access already, which is more than can be said for Predecessor and Overprime's infrequent test weekends, so if you're looking for a quick and easy way to test if you might like a Paragon clone, Fault could be a good option for you. However, it is a paid game, and while it's only $10 on Steam, other options plan to be free to play, so that's worth considering. And while I am coming down quite hard on Fault, it is impressive that they got a released game out within only a couple of years of Paragon's demise, whereas all we have for Predecessor and Overprime right now are the occasional test weekends and no real set-in-stone release dates. So with 3 clones available, which one looks most appealing to you? It's highly unlikely that multiple of these games using the same assets will succeed alongside each other. Most likely one game will cannibalize the other successors for their dev team and player base, and ultimately one definitive Paragon successor will emerge. My personal take is that Predecessor seems the most polished, has the most funding as far as I know, and aims to most closely emulate the original Paragon that took gamers by storm in 2016. Though I will throw in a bit of support for Overprime, which is trying to take the shell of Paragon and fix things that people didn't like about the original to make an overall better game. I just think right now Predecessor looks to be the strongest of these 3. Thank you all for watching. I know this isn't my typical content, but I did play a splash of Paragon back in the day, and another third-person MOBA coming onto the scene could throw a real spanner in the works for Smite and perhaps light a fire under their ass to improve the game and be more innovative. Because if there's one thing Paragon did well, it was innovation. The card system, the verticality between lanes, respawning towers way before Smite did a similar thing with the Scepter, a huge cast of unique heroes. We'll have to see what Overprime, Fault, and Predecessor will do with that innovation and which one will come out on top. But that's all I got for this one. Let me know which remake you'll personally be playing down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.